Keep those biotics in check. You as much as flinch, and I'll... The Shadow Broker wants to know why. He wants to know why you came all this way for someone who's dead. Now you're going to talk before I decide to...
God! Sniper! We've got a sniper! Lead is down! Headshot! Where did that come from? The targets are moving!
Sorry in the drill!
Fall back!
They're getting away!
Fall back! Tazik's gonna have our hides for this. We've lost them. Repeat, we've lost the...
There is a fundamental truth to power. It is never truly owned. It is merely held. The moment you believe your grip is absolute is the moment it begins to slip through your fingers. Dr. Liara T'Soni's predecessor understood power. He coveted it. He wielded it like a club, inspiring fear and obedience through sheer, overwhelming force. For 60 years, he was the ghost in the machine of galactic politics, a name whispered in the darkest corners of the terminus systems and the most secure halls of the Citadel, an apex predator, ruling a network built on secrets and blood. And yet, he fell, not to a specter, not to a rival government, not to an army. He was dismantled, piece by piece, by a grieving archaeologist. How? That is the question. And understanding the answer is critical, because his failure is our lesson. His hubris is our warning. This is a post-mortem, an analysis of the fall of an empire and the war that was waged for its ashes. This is the history of the mantle she would eventually claim. To understand the broker of that era, you must first understand his species, the Yahg. Discovered by the Citadel Council in 2125 on their homeworld of Parnak, they were a pre-spaceflight race with technology roughly equivalent to 20th century Earth. But their psychology was unique. On Parnak, the Yahg are the undisputed apex predators. They are stronger, faster, and possess an intelligence that rivals the Solarians. They do not comprehend the concept of a superior. When the Council's first contact delegation arrived, they failed to show the proper deference. The Yahg, interpreting this as a challenge from an inferior species, massacred them. The Council, in its infinite wisdom, declared the species too dangerous and quarantined their world. A lesser mind would have seen this as a closed book. But the Shadow Broker of that era saw potential. He saw a creature with the intelligence of a Solarian and the brute force of a Krogan, wrapped in a package of absolute predatory confidence. He violated the quarantine, abducted a promising specimen, and attempted to mold him into an agent. It was a catastrophic miscalculation. The Yahg learned quickly. He observed the network. He saw the power. And, true to his nature, he decided it belonged to him. He killed his master and seamlessly assumed control. None of the agents scattered across the galaxy and communicating only through dead drops and encrypted channels ever knew their master had changed. The title remained, but the entity behind it was now something far more proactive and far more dangerous. The Yahg broker didn't just trade information. He weaponized it. He transformed the network from a passive clearinghouse into an instrument of coercion. Blackmail was policy. Assassination, a tool for market correction. He understood that fear was a more reliable currency than credits. His agents weren't partners. They were assets, to be used and discarded. Many who were summoned to his inner sanctum never returned. He ruled not through loyalty, but through terror. And for decades, it worked. He became a galactic boogeyman, a force that even the Council respected and feared. But this doctrine, born from the mindset of an apex predator, contained the seeds of his own destruction. He could not conceive of a threat from something he deemed prey.
Alpha team to handler. The asset is secure. It's just as the intel described. Single human corpse, and 7 armor is shot to hell but intact. The site is a graveyard. Nothing but twisted metal and frozen bodies out here. The broker's payment for this better clear. This is the spookiest damn recovery I've ever run. We're prepping the stasis pod for extraction now, awaiting rendezvous coordinates for the handoff. Tell the client not to be late. Alpha out.
Every war has its catalyst, a single event that draws the battle lines. For this war, it was the death of one human, Commander Shepard. In 2183, the SSV Normandy was ambushed and destroyed by a collector vessel. Commander Shepard was killed in action, their body lost to the vacuum of space before falling into the gravity well of the planet Alkera. In a galaxy of trillions, the death of one soldier should have been a footnote. But Shepard was different. Shepard was an anomaly, the individual who had faced down a Reaper and won. And in the shadows, multiple powers recognized the value of this anomaly's remains. A silent, vicious bidding war began, not for territory or resources, but for a single corpse. First, the Collectors. We now know them to be indoctrinated, cybernetically modified Protheans, acting as proxies for the Reapers. Their master, Harbinger, wanted Shepard's body for study, to analyze the genetic material, the neural pathways, to understand how a lesser being could defy a god. They were intrigued by Shepard's exposure to the Prothean beacon and the Thorian on Pharos, seeking to study the resulting genetic abnormalities. They wanted to dissect the miracle, to ensure it could never happen again. Their interest was clinical, grotesque, and absolute. Then, there was Cerberus, the pro-human Black Ops group led by the enigmatic, Illusive man. He saw Shepard not as a specimen, but as a symbol. The pinnacle of human potential, a weapon that could be reforged. He initiated the Lazarus Project, a multi-billion credit, top-secret initiative with a single audacious goal: to bring Shepard back from the dead. For the Illusive man, possessing Shepard's body was the key to securing humanity's future. And caught between these two galactic forces was the Yahg broker. He secured Shepard's body, contracting the Blue Sun's mercenary outfit for the recovery. But he had no intention of keeping it. He saw the Reaper's arrival as an inevitability, a storm that couldn't be weathered, only survived. His plan was simple, brutal, and perfectly aligned with his predatory nature. Sell Shepard's body to the Collectors. Appease the Reapers. In exchange for this gesture of cooperation, he believed they would spare the Yahg homeworld when the harvest came. He was prepared to sell out the entire galaxy to ensure his own species remained at the top of the food chain. He saw it as a sound business decision, a pragmatic choice. He never considered a fourth player entering the game. He never considered her, Dr. Liara T'Soni. In 2183, a brilliant but naive Prothean archaeologist. By 2185, a hardened information broker operating out of Ilium, driven by 2 years of grief and guilt. She had been on an escape pod, forced to watch as the Normandy was torn apart, as Shepard died to save the crew. That moment redefined her. Her life's work was no longer buried in the past. It was a debt to be paid in the present, a quest for redemption. Her first steps were clumsy. She arrived on the lawless station of Omega, openly asking questions, making herself an easy target. She was a scholar trying to play a spy's game, and she nearly paid the price. But she possessed 2 things her predecessor failed to account for: a formidable biotic potential and an unshakable resolve. This resolve drew others to her cause, forming the nucleus of an unlikely opposition. The first and most critical was a Drell information trader named Feron. Feron was one of her predecessor's own agents, a cynical but principled operative who made a living on the fringes. He was initially tasked with misleading Liara, leading her on a wild goose chase while the deal for Shepard's body was finalized. But Feron had a line. He would trade secrets, bend laws, work for monsters, but he would not be party to a deal with the Collectors. He saw their involvement as a perversion, a step too far. He chose to betray the most dangerous being in the galaxy. He became a double agent, secretly feeding information to Cerberus, who also wanted to stop the broker's sale.
You're listening. Good. Your operative, Lawson, paid me a visit. I told her I wasn't interested.
I'm aware of your conversation, Feron. I'm also aware you've had a change of heart. I trust you have a compelling reason for opening a channel that doesn't officially exist?
The client. The one paying the broker for Shepard's body. It's the Collectors. I'm a thief and an information broker. I'm not a gravedigger for monsters who will wipe out everything. My answer is yes now. I'll work for you. But not for your agents. For you. Directly.
The Collectors are a complication. Your assessment is correct. Your decision to deal with me directly shows foresight. Very well, you have my attention and my protection, for what it's worth.
What do you need?
For now, your objective is not the broker. It's Liara T'Soni. She is also on Omega, looking for Shepard. She is motivated, powerful. She will be the weapon we use to strike at the broker. Your new mission is to find her, guide her, use the intelligence I provide to win her trust. You are now the Shepard for our weapon. See that she strikes true.
And the broker?
He will get what he deserves, in time. Do not fail, Feron. The consequences would be unfortunate for everyone.
This led to the second pillar of the Alliance, Cerberus itself. Liara, desperate for resources, entered into a tense partnership with the Illusive Man. It was a deal with a devil to fight a demon. The Illusive Man provided intelligence and support, seeing Liara's personal motivation as a powerful, deniable asset. He aimed her like a weapon at his rival, content to let her take all the risks. So the stage was set. A 4-way shadow war, the Yahg broker and his collector clients versus the fragile alliance of a grieving Asari, a conflicted Drell, and a human supremacist visionary. And the prize was the soul of the galaxy's greatest hero. Cipher 9, report.
Broker. My forensic analysis of the archived data from the Yahg Broker's Master Security VI is complete. This is the system that was active during his fall.
Give me the conclusion. How did a fortress designed by a paranoid apex predator collapse so completely?
It was an architectural failure, Broker. A single point of failure. The target's entire security network was slave to a highly complex but static VI. It was brilliant, but brittle, designed by a single operative and never updated. It operated on rigid predictive scheduling.
A fortress that ran on rails. I'm aware. What was the flaw?
The key was the data recovered during Feron's capture on Alangon. That data didn't just contain operational intelligence, it contained the VY's root command language. My analysis confirms that a targeted logic bomb introduced into a primary data hub would have caused a cascading system failure, a total crash. The entire security grid would have gone dark simultaneously.
So he built a perfect cage, and the data Feron was captured for contained the key. The Yahg couldn't imagine anyone getting close enough to use it. A fatal lack of imagination. Your analysis is confirmed, Cypher 9. Excellent work. Broker, out. An apex predator's arrogance. The belief that your defenses are so perfect, you never need to check the locks. That was the beginning of his end. The war began in earnest on Omega. The station is a cesspool, but it has one rule. Don't cross its self-proclaimed queen, Arya T'Soni. The broker, in his arrogance, broke that rule. He conducted his business on her turf without her approval. Liara, guided by Feron and backed by Cerberus, used this to her advantage. After surviving an ambush by the broker's Blue Sun's mercenaries, an attack that was brutally efficient, but ultimately thwarted by a Cerberus sniper, Liara confronted Arya. An information broker herself, Arya is no fool. She knew something was happening on her station, but she didn't know the scale. Liara, in a moment of desperate leverage, revealed the one piece of information Arya couldn't ignore. The collectors were involved. The name alone terrified Arya. The collectors were bad for business, bad for Omega. In a fit of rage and fear, she gave Liara what she wanted, the location of the handoff. An old derelict mining and processing plant deep in the station's bowels. There, Liara and Feron intercepted the deal. They found not just the Blue Suns, but the broker's top enforcer, a hulking, unnaturally large Solarian named Tazik. The exchange was about to be made. Feron, thinking tactically, suggested disabling Tazik's ship with a derelict defense turret. Liara, driven by emotion, charged in. The resulting chaos saw Tazik escape with Shepard's body, but it also revealed Feron's true allegiance. He was no longer just a cynical agent, he was committed. The chase led them to the Farrier system and the planet Alangon, a frozen, storm-racked world that served as one of the broker's forward operating bases. It was a fortress of paranoia. Its electromagnetic shroud made communications impossible, and its automated sentry drones destroyed any unscheduled arrivals. Feron, using his knowledge of the system, navigated an asteroid field to evade the drones and bluffed his way past the station's guards, with Liara posing as his prisoner. Inside, they found the broker's communication hub and confirmed the worst. The deal with the collectors was real. While Liara distracted a holographic projection of the broker, Feron hacked the system, downloading vital intelligence about his operations. They destroyed the hub, cutting the base off from the network. But the price was high. In the ensuing chaos, Feron was captured by Tazik's forces, who had been alerted to his treachery by a collector acting as a direct communications conduit for the broker. Feron's last act was to scream at Liara to save Shepard, to complete the mission. He chose sacrifice, and in that moment, the objective shifted. This was no longer just about recovering a body for Cerberus. It was about rescuing a friend. It was personal. With the data Feron secured, and the key to the broker's security VI now understood, the final assault was planned. The target? The heart of his darkness. A massive mobile command ship, perpetually hidden within the violent planet-wide thunderstorms of Hagalaz. It was a brilliant hiding place. The storm provided natural cover from sensors, and the ship's exterior was a weapon in itself, studded with lightning capacitors that could be overloaded to electrocute anyone foolish enough to take cover near them. It was a fortress designed by a mind that expected a frontal assault. But Liara did not give him one. She and Commander Shepard, now resurrected by the Lazarus Project and seeking answers of his own, infiltrated the ship. They fought their way across the storm-lashed hull, using the broker's own defenses against his agents. They breached the interior and fought through to the prison block. There they found Feron. He had been held for 2 years, subjected to brutal, continuous torture for his betrayal. His mind was connected directly to the broker's ship, his memories and knowledge forcibly extracted. Yet he had resisted. He held on, protecting the most critical data, a final act of defiance. Then came the final confrontation. In his inner sanctum, the broker revealed himself. Not a shadowy figure behind a desk, but a Yahg, a 10-foot-tall monster of muscle and rage. He fought not with subtlety, but with brute, overwhelming force. He was an apex predator in his own lair, convinced of his invincibility. But he wasn't fighting soldiers. He was fighting an archaeologist and a ghost. Liara, a master biotic, used the environment, stunning him, creating openings. Shepard, a peerless combatant, exploited them. The Yahg's shield was a formidable defense, but it couldn't protect his back. His rage made him predictable. His arrogance made him blind. He had all the power, all the resources, all the information, and he lost. Why? Because he never truly understood his enemy. He saw Liara T'Soni as an emotional, inferior creature. He couldn't comprehend that her grief was a weapon, her loyalty to her friends a strategic advantage, and her intellect a force more dangerous than any army. He built a network based on fear, and was defeated by an alliance built on trust. He was an apex predator, drowned in a sea he thought was a puddle. And so the mantle passed, not through violence or usurpation, but through necessity. With the Yahg dead, the network was headless. A vast, powerful, and dangerous machine without a driver. Liara T'Soni made a choice to take control, to inherit the power and the burden. The information she inherited was staggering. Dossiers on every major figure in the galaxy, surveillance footage from 1 million hidden cameras, the private communications of admirals, counselors, and criminals. The Yahg used this information to sow chaos and build his own power. She saw it for what it truly was, a weapon. A weapon to be aimed not at rivals, but at the real threat. The Reapers. Dossier: Miranda Lawson, genetically engineered, sterile. Psychological profile: crippling need for validation from a father figure she despises. Vulnerability: her sister. Dossier: Grunt, tank-bred Krogan. Psychological profile: latent desire for purpose beyond violence. Seeks a clan, a father. Vulnerability: his own potential. Dossier: the Illusive man. Subject's exposure to Prothean artifact during First Contact War resulted in unique insights. Believes he can control the Reapers. Hubris is his defining characteristic and his greatest weakness. The Yahg saw these as levers for blackmail. Liara saw them as battle plans, as ways to understand, to predict, to rally the allies we would need. The transition was not easy. The mantle was heavy. Reports indicate that for a time she felt she was drowning in the data, lost in a sea of secrets, much as her predecessor was lost in his own arrogance. She had become the most powerful information broker in the galaxy, but was still a scholar from Thessia, reportedly haunted by the memory of her mother, matriarch Benezia, who also followed her passions to her doom. But there was a fundamental difference in their philosophies. The Yahg sought only to survive the storm. Liara intended to stop it. The Broker War was not the end, it was the beginning. It was the forging of a new weapon for a much larger conflict. And that war is far from over. The network is active. The pieces are on the board. The Broker War is a reminder that no fortress is impregnable, no power absolute. Stay vigilant. Question everything. Your reports are expected. Broker